Hello, it's Julie from Spellbound, and today I'm going to show you how to develop that single strand earring technique that we did last time into something a little bit more exciting. So I'm going to show you how to make Stamen earrings. That's where you're joining 2 pins or more into one to finish a more exciting pair of earrings. So these are the ones I'm going to show you today. 2 head pins joining together onto an ear fitting. But these are just beads from the selection we used last time. If you want to go on a bead hunt, we've also got little flowers made in the same way, and the same technique also adapts into these very dramatic crystal earrings. All the same technique, just some of them take a little bit longer to thread than others. I've got my materials in front of me. As last time when we were making the simple dangling earrings, I'm just working from a Spellbound mix of beads. This is the Cathedral mix, the same as before. I've got some mixed seed beads. This is one of our pots of mixed seed beads, and I've picked blue this time to go with the blue beads in the mix. I'm going to make some blue earrings. I've got some 3mm metal rounds, and then I've got my findings. As before, I've got ear fittings. Now I happen to have fishhook ear wires, but you might prefer clip-ons or straightforward posts, but we need to have a loop that we can dangle from. And to make the stamens, I've got some head pins. Now these are 50mm long, and they're of a stiff sort of metal, so they're going to stay nice and straight. I've also got some eye pins. Now these are what we use to bring our head pins together to pull up through our top bead. We might not need these, we might not. We might have enough trimmings from the head pins to not have to use the eye pins. We try to use up as much of our wire as we can. Alternatively, you might want to have some wire handy. This is 0.8mm half hard wire, and I would use this instead of eye pins if I'm making longer earrings. Right, I'm going to put that aside, and a little earlier I rummaged through my bead assortment and my seed beads, and I got together a few beads that I thought would make a nice pair of earrings. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I like that combination. So there's some seed beads from the mix, and I've got some little blue facets from the large selection. Now I'm going to make a 2-strand pair of earrings. So I'm going to make 2 stamens for each earring. And I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment first to see what works well for my bead combination. Let's have a look at that for the bottom. I think that's a little bit too long, so that's a bit better. I like that. And if I was to reproduce that, and let's have a little play. I like them at 2 slightly different heights, and that's going to be my top bead that's going to bring both strands together, and I like that as an overall length. So I've got a long stem, a short stem, and they'll finish about here, so I can join them together through my top bead. So with that in mind, I can see how long I need to trim my head pins. Now that first head pin needs to be trimmed about there. And I'm going to make a pair of earrings, so I'm going to trim both head pins at the same time so that I can get them to the same length. Got my wire cutters, trim them at the same time and pop them down. Now my other ones were going to be quite a bit shorter. I'm going to trim those about there. There we go. Those are quite useful lengths of trimming, so I might use those to bring the two stems together in a moment. So now I'm going to put the same beads on to all the pins because I want the same dangle decoration on all the pins. And this is quite useful, especially when you're working from a mix, because then you know you've got all the beads that you need for the earrings. Right, I'm going to make some loops. Now it's the same as we did last time, so it's right at the top of the pin. Hold a short distance down, that's a 6 to 8 millimeters, that's the space I need to make the loop, and I roll away from me, moving the pliers, not the hand that's holding the beads. Now let's have a little look. It's not all the way around, so let's grip at the top and keep on rolling until it goes all the way around. Now I need to tip that back slightly, so in that bottom corner, and that's a nice lollipop shape loop. I'm going to do that another 3 times. As you can see, I've done this lots of times before, and it only takes a little bit of practice to get really fast and really accurate at making loops. So I'm rolling forwards until it touches. I'm changing to put the pliers in that bottom corner, and I'm tipping back just to make sure I've got a really nice round lollipop shape loop. Now when we look at all of these loops, we can see that they've got a front and a back, or if you like, a nice side and a not so nice side. This is the nice side where the wire comes up, round and over the top, and the uglier side is where the cut end of the pin comes back on itself. Now when we assemble our earrings, we want that smooth, nice face to be facing forwards on our design. So we need to think about how we thread them onto our next connection. Now our next connection I'm going to make from the trimming of the head pin, or you might want to use an eye pin. So because I'm using the trimming from the head pin, I have to make a loop on the end first. So round we go and make the loop. Make sure it's nice and closed. There's the loop we've made, and then we twist it open. So I put my pliers on at right angles to the main stem. I hold as close as I can, and I just rotate my wrist so it opens at the top. So that's twisting the loop open. Now when you do that, it's really important that right angle there, and holding with this hand as close as you can. Then the whole of the rest of the pin will stay straight and the loop will open neatly. Right, now on with my dangles. I can see that loop's not quite straight, so that's better. Straightened it up. Now that's the front of the loop there, so that goes on to the front of the earring. And that's the front of the loop there, so that goes on to the front of the earring. Put my pliers back on in the same position, right angles on that open loop, and twist shut. There we go. So that's the back of the earring with the two backs of the loops, and the front with the front of the loops. Now we're going to finish off. Now I'm not sure whether I want to put one of those on. I think that's too heavy. So let's try that one. And a silver bead. Now that I think's better. I'm using that seed bead to pick up this colour, and I think the pale blue is better at the top. So now we need to make another loop. Now when I make this loop, I want the loop, you can see the bottom loop there is that way round. I want the top loop to be that way round as well, not that way. So I want this loop and the loop I'm going to make to be in the same plane. And to trim this to the right length to make a loop, which is about 8mm. So get rid of that excess wire. And now I need to put my pliers on to make the loop. Now my pliers are pointing upwards. There's the loop there, and the loop I'm going to make will wrap around the pliers that way, so it should end up in the same plane. When I hold it like this, so I can see the side of the pliers, I can only just see the side of the loop here. That means it will be in the same plane. So roll forwards and make that little loop. There we go, you can see that loop is in the same plane as that loop. And that means we can see both of the stamens side by side. Let's do the same again. So I'll make a loop at the end of my little bit of wire. I twist the loop open, so pliers at right angles, open it up, and now I need to put my stamens on, and I want this to be a mirror image pair. So before I put the short one on first, now I'm going to put the longer one on first, then the shorter stamen. Make sure I'm seeing the front of the loop at the front of the design. Pliers on in the right place and twist back. And we're nearly there. Put the same beads on again. And we need to trim and loop. So trim. Get the pliers in the right plane so I can see that's the side edge of my loop, side of my pliers. So when I roll the loop that way, the loop I make will be in the same plane as this loop I'm seeing side on. So bend back above the beads and roll to make the loop. There we go. So now we've got a matching pair of earrings, and to complete them we're going to open the loop on the ear fitting, twist it open just the same as on the eye pin, pop our earring on and make sure put it on so the front of those loops is showing to the front, and twist shut. I'm going to do the same again. Pliers on at right angles to this spring on the ear fitting, twist it open, make sure the earring is going on front way, so that's the front of the loops there, twist shut. If I move all of these out of the way, you can see we've made a pair of stamen earrings. So now I have 3 more pairs of earrings that I've made using the same technique. These are the ones I've just made, and these are exactly the same technique, but just using the bronze and grey beads out of the same bead selection. So 2 head pins on each and drawn up with the trimming from one of the head pins. Now I've got some little lucite beads, some little flowers which have a central hole, and I've turned them into little bluebell drops by using exactly the same technique again. So it's 2 head pins trimmed to slightly different lengths and decorated with a couple of beads just to give them some design. And then in this case I've actually used an eye pin to pull up through these top few beads, and I've picked up the blue again using a seed bead. So those are 2 little bluebell earrings made with exactly the same technique as these. And this is perhaps the next stage up, but again the same technique. This time each head pin has been made into a short dangle. There's 3 on each earring, and you can see it's just crystal, silver, and then the loop. And then I've cut 3 lengths of wire, 0.8mm wire. I've cut them in pairs, the same as I did with the other head pins. Cut them in pairs, join them onto my pre-prepared dangles, and I've added a couple more beads actually onto those stems. I've made loops at the top, and this time I've joined them together with a piece of 0.8mm wire because I've had to make a bigger loop. This is a bigger loop there because I'm joining 3 things on instead of just 2. So I made a bigger loop by using the pliers slightly further up, made a bigger loop there, and I've decorated the top with another crystal bead. But these are really long and elegant. I hope you'll give one of these designs a go. It's just simple techniques, but it stretches just ordinary beads into something a little bit more spectacular. Happy earring making!